Hello and welcome back to my channel, Civil War Reports. I am your War of the Rebellion reporter, Brian Thomas Kopak. And today's an episode I really can't wait to deliver to you, although I don't think I'm going to be filming anything more than this introduction today, as I got a bunch of things to do around the house. But probably in a couple days I'm going to be taking you on a journey about 50 miles east of Gettysburg to talk about an event that I can't wait to speak about, can't wait to report about, and I'm sure it's going to drive a bunch of woke people crazy. It's probably going to make their mind explode, because it's going to completely destroy the woke narrative about the Confederate Army. All right, it's June 23rd, it's pretty hot. But I just finished filming the episode on Colonel O'Neill's brigade's attack. Hopefully by the time I get done filming this episode, that episode will already be up for your enjoyment. But before I head out, I just want to give what was originally going to be 2 shout outs for June 23rd, but is now going to be 3. And that is, first, I'll give a shout out, the latest one, the one that just popped into my head that deserves a shout out, and that is to the maintenance and landscaping crew at Gettysburg National Military Park. When I was filming about O'Neill, you may have noticed in the background there was a group of maintenance workers working around the peace light. So the unsung heroes really of the Gettysburg battlefield. These people do a great job keeping our national park, our battlefield, in great condition, because it's ours. It's mine, it's yours, it's everybody's. It doesn't belong to any one person. It's our battlefield. Also, where I'm filming now, there was a very nice gentleman up on the tractor there mowing the lawn. I mean, all of these things they do to keep our battlefield looking great for us. Big shout out to them. Also, the original 2 shout outs. One, to Patty. Knew you 40 years ago. Was on this date. 40 years ago, we had a really nice date together, you and I. And also, birthday shout out to a girl from New Jersey who young lady from New Jersey who I met about 35 years ago. It's her birthday, June 23rd. So Susan, happy birthday to you. All right, folks, a couple days we'll be ready to go. Got the backup Civil War Reports wagon over here. My main ride, the Saturn. Love that car. Gets great gas mileage. Very cold blowing air conditioner. It's a great car, but unfortunately needs to have a wheel bearing replaced. So we got the backup here, the backup carriage for the Civil War Reports here, pulled by 200 horses. It doesn't look like I'm gonna have time to do it today, but in a couple days we're gonna load up the reserve wagon and head on out to Wrightsville to bring you an episode that I know will make woke people's minds explode, because they won't understand this one. It destroys their narrative. All right. See you in a couple days. See you in Wrightsville. All right, folks, we are here in Wrightsville, Pennsylvania. And as I mentioned in the previous scene, I didn't get a chance to get out here on the 23rd and do any filming. It is now Thursday, June 26th. And that date should be somewhat familiar if you've been following this channel. My very first episode was on Jubal Early's raid on Gettysburg on June 26th, 1863. So here it is, 162 years later, and we're still talking about Jubal Early, which is fine by me, because he's a very interesting Confederate general to talk about. He was quite the character. He was Lee's bad old man. So we're here in Wrightsville. So let's talk about what happened. Well, as I just mentioned, on June 26th, Jubal Early raids Gettysburg, takes just about everything he can from the town, and then begins his march to York, Pennsylvania, which is not too far west from where I'm standing. Early is a very ambitious commander, and when in York, he decides he wants to be even more ambitious. And he comes up with a plan that he really wanted to do. And had this carried out, wow, it really would have changed the Gettysburg campaign, and Early would probably be even more famous. He comes up with the idea of crossing the Susquehanna River and capture Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is east of the river, and then head up to Harrisburg to act in conjunction with General Ewell in capturing Harrisburg. And had they captured Harrisburg, that would have been the first and probably the only Yankee state capital to be captured during the war. If they captured Harrisburg, the game may have been over. So, in an effort to do what Early wants, he sends one of his brigade commanders ahead to Wrightsville, which is where we are now. That was General John Gordon of Georgia. He commanded a brigade of Georgian infantry, and they arrive here in Wrightsville on June 28th. And let's talk about what happens, because this is the one that's going to just destroy the woke narrative about Confederate soldiers. It should destroy the narrative. All right, let's talk about General John Gordon for a minute. What can we say about General John Gordon? Well, he was born in Upson, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, U-P-S-O-N, Upson County, Georgia, on February 6th, 1832. So he's pretty much a young man here at the Battle of Gettysburg for being a brigadier general. I mean, he's 31 years old. All right. He attended the University of Georgia, but did not graduate. He was trained as a lawyer. This goes back to what I said about in the episode on O'Neill. You know, you did not have to be a trained military man at this point in time to achieve high rank. Okay, O'Neill was a lawyer and a politician, and Gordon was a lawyer before the war. At the start of the war, he was engaged in developing coal mines in northwest Georgia, basically up around the area of the Chickamauga, Chattanooga battlefield area, that general region of Georgia. And he had no previous military training. Again, goes back to what I said about O'Neill. Okay, Gordon entered the war as a captain of a mountaineer company called the Raccoon Roughs. But before the end of the war, he's going to be a very high-ranking officer in the Army of Northern Virginia. All right, he was badly wounded at Sharpsburg. He probably should have died. He did actually take a head wound, but he survives. He's promoted to brigadier general on November 1st, 1862. He will be promoted to major general on May 14th, 1864. And on the retreat from Petersburg, Richmond, which would ultimately culminate in the Appomattox campaign, he was in command of half of Lee's infantry. I mean, he went from being a captain at the start of the war to basically a lieutenant general by the end of the war. And interesting enough, he dies on January 9th, 1904, exactly 1 week after General James Longstreet died. They died exactly 7 days apart from each other. I'm sure I'm going to mention Gordon and probably fill in and add to his bio in later episodes, but I think we got a good start here that this man was a fighter, and he did not go unrecognized. And I'm going to mention this house also before the end of the episode, because there's an ironic story about this brick house here involving General Gordon. All right, so let's talk about what happens. He arrives on the outskirts of Wrightsville on Sunday, June 28th. Oh, I got a Harley myself. Love the sound of them. Anyway, he arrives here on Sunday, June 28th, 1863, and he begins to survey the defenses around Wrightsville. Wrightsville was being defended by Union militia, volunteer soldiers with absolutely no military experience. General Early had an extremely low opinion of them, as was evident on June 26th outside of Gettysburg. Go back and watch episode 1 if you're interested on Early's march into Gettysburg on June 26th. So he arrives here at Wrightsville. He begins to survey the defenses and realize there's not much. But he also gets a little bit of a stroke of luck. General Gordon is deploying his men on the heights above the town. He could look down, he could see about 1,500 emergency militia. There's about 50 black troops with the Yankees, and Gordon has about 1,800 men. However, there's a big difference between Gordon's men and this local militia. One being Gordon has veterans of many battles, and he's facing almost an equal number of raw troops, volunteers, emergency militia. Really no match. And he's handed a note by someone, I guess from the town, who, for lack of a better term, was a Southern sympathizer. And from what Gordon could tell, based upon what's written in the note, and from what he's able to observe, that everything in the note is spot on accurate. And the note tells him to look for a gorge or a ravine to set up a defense, to set up there to get ready to launch an attack. And there's not much of a battle, if you even want to call it that. Gordon deploys his artillery, they fire a couple of rounds, and the Union Army, if you want to call it that, the Union militia, under the command of Jacob Frick, break and run, and they cross the covered bridge across the Susquehanna. At that point in time, that covered bridge was the longest covered bridge in the world. And on their way out, on their retreat, they decide to set the bridge afire. They set it ablaze, and what happens next, like I said, is going to destroy the woke mindset. Let's talk about what happens next. In late June of 1863, as the Confederates were approaching York and Wrightsville, which is east of York, the people here in Wrightsville reacted much the same way the people in Gettysburg did. They feared for their livelihood, their lives, and their livestock. And as the Confederates got closer and closer, the bridge that was spanning the Susquehanna was used to transport as much livestock as possible across the bridge to the eastern side of the river. And at the same time, Jacob Frick was using his 1,500 men to build breastworks around the bridge. They wanted to protect that bridge from falling into Confederate hands. As I mentioned, it wasn't much of a battle here. Gordon deployed his brigade and didn't take much. Some cannon fire, and Jacob Frick, concerned more about the safety of his men than protecting this bridge that spanned the river, ordered a hasty retreat. Now, the bridge behind me today is concrete, but the bridge that was here at the time was made of wood. And as the Yankees were retreating, they set that wooden bridge on fire. that long bridge. At the time, like I said, it was the longest covered bridge in the world. They set it on fire. Now, Frick did this to prevent the Confederates from capturing the bridge and using it to get to the other side. What he did not expect was that after the bridge was set afire, the wind was going to shift and blew hot embers and flames towards Wrightsville. Houses around the bridge were set on fire. So let me tell you what happened afterwards, and that is what is going to destroy the woke mindset and make their brains start saying this does not compute. The bridge is set on fire. Some homes are already starting to burn. The town is threatened. What did Gordon's Georgians do? Well, did they add to the fire? Did they set more houses ablaze? Did they sit back and watch a Yankee town burn? No. And this is what's going to destroy the woke mindset. They actually helped with the bucket brigade to put the flames out. For those of you who are not familiar with a bucket brigade, what it is you just form a line of people and you pass a bucket to the next person and just keep it going until you get to the last person, who's going to throw the buckets onto the fire, and then they hand off the empty buckets and the brigade, the circle continues. Empty buckets go back, get filled up, filled buckets go back up to the guy who's throwing it on the fire. It's a constant circle. Despite what was happening in the war, despite the fact that Virginia and Tennessee, as well as other Confederate states, but those two were really bearing the brunt of the war, these soldiers from the Army of Northern Virginia helped save the town behind me. They helped put out the fire. And I know that's going to destroy the woke mindset. It's going to start making them say, this does not compute, this does not compute. You know, these Confederates that are so bad, so evil, so horrible, all they wanted to do was form their own country. They helped save a Yankee town despite the atrocities that were happening in southern states. They saved this town from burning. Now, probably you'll learn about it at the Wrightsville School District about this event, but I don't think it's taught in any other school districts, maybe outside of this area. But, because I know I didn't learn about this in school. You can read about it in the history books, you know, if you pick up a history book and read it. And these are the two main sources I use for this episode: Gettysburg, A Testing of Courage by Noah Andre Trudeau, and Jubal, The Life and Times of General Jubal A. Early, CSA by Charles C. Osborne. These are the two main sources I use. Yes, you can read about this. There's brief passages about it in the history books, but you won't hear about it in the school districts, particularly northern school districts. So what ends up happening is Wright's men work through the night, into the night, to put out the fire here. Jubal Early arrives on the scene very late in the day. He sees the bridge he needs to get to the other side to capture Lancaster in ashes. His hopes of capturing Lancaster are shattered, go up in smoke. So that part of any additional campaign is destroyed. Would have been very interesting had the bridge not been set afire and Early was able to get to the other side. Would have been very interesting to see. But keep in mind one thing, this is now June 28th. I did an episode on June 28th. I'll recap it for you in a moment. Interesting point, because that bridge was used to drive precious livestock over to the other side. The townsfolk here did have a heck of a time trying to get their livestock back after the bridge was set afire. All right, here's the house I was standing at earlier today. And here's the placard that's across the street from it. I'll read it to you. Up top, ham, eggs, and Confederates. War creates unusual circumstances. In the two-story brick house in front of you, newlywed Mary Jane McGee, the daughter of Wrightsville Chief Burgesses, served breakfast to Confederate General John B. Gordon on June 29, 1863. Quite remarkable considering her new husband served as a doctor in the Union Army. The night before, Pennsylvania militiamen filled this street as they retreated across the Wrightsville Bridge to your left into Lancaster County. Gordon's 1800 Georgia infantrymen had driven the inexperienced troops from their horseshoe-shaped earthworks east of town. The Union commander ordered the bridge set ablaze after the last militiamen crossed. As the flames crackled, the wind shifted, and the growing inferno threatened the town. Gordon's Southern soldiers worked well into the night to save residences and stores. A grateful Mary Jane invited Gordon and other officers to breakfast at her house. There, Gordon inquired if her sympathies were with the North or the Southern side. She boldly replied, "You and your soldiers last night saved my home from burning, and I was unwilling that you should go away without some token of my appreciations. I must tell you, however, that my husband is a soldier in the Union Army, and my constant prayer to heaven is that our cause may triumph and the Union be saved." And admiring Gordon declared her the heroine of the Susquehanna. Sorry I deviated there a little bit. I promised to talk about June 28th, and I just wanted to show you that house I was standing in front of before and the story behind it. Pretty remarkable story. A woman whose newlywed husband is serving in the Union Army, yet she makes breakfast for Gordon and some of his officers as a thank you for the Confederates saving the town from burning. Gordon then refers to her as the heroine of the Susquehanna. I mean, remarkable story. Wars were so much different back then. And the South, particularly those in the Army of Northern Virginia, when they came into Pennsylvania, for the most part, tried to conduct this war gentlemanly. Yes, they did steal horses. No, they confiscated for the war effort horses and livestock to help feed the army, but for the most part, tried to leave other private property alone, which is a remarkable feat considering what the Yankee Army was doing down south. All right, June 28th. Well, Early is here. He sees the bridge burning. His hopes and dreams are going up in flames. But even if the bridge hadn't burned, two things happened on June 28th that I did an episode on already. You can go back and watch that. One major event for the Union Army, one major event for the Confederate Army. For the Union, fighting Joe Hooker, who didn't have much fighting spirit when it came to dealing with Robert E. Lee and this invasion north, was relieved of command and replaced by General George Gordon Meade. And on that same day, Lee issued a general order to have his army concentrate in Cashtown or Gettysburg. Early was part of Ewell's 2nd Corps. Ewell was up at the Carlisle area trying to figure out how to capture Harrisburg. Jubal Early will also begin to backtrack towards the Gettysburg area. Gordon will be recalled from this area on the 29th, and they will begin their march back to the Gettysburg, Cashtown area, thus ending the furthest extent eastward of the Confederate invasion of Pennsylvania in 1863. Well, I hope you liked this episode. It was really my pleasure to bring it to you. It was a long time coming. I really want to do this episode in the worst way for a long time, because it destroys the woke narrative that the Confederates were all bad and all evil. Well, you know, here they saved a Union town from pretty much being totally destroyed by an inferno, And like I said, I don't think anywhere, maybe outside this small region, will it be taught in schools. Yeah, it'll be taught in the history books, but I know I didn't learn about this event in high school or middle school. Well, I do thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. For Civil War Reports, I am your War of the Rebellion reporter, Brian Thomas Kopak. Until next time, thank you for watching. And if you like what you saw today, please hit the subscribe button. Give a thumbs up. Also, notify your friends. Let them know about this channel and ask them to subscribe as well. If you like, you may leave a question or a comment below, and perhaps I will answer your question in a future episode of Civil War Reports. Until next time, please keep the history alive.